The Kels is an assessment that measures an individual's ability to independently complete everyday living skills needed for community reentry. The Kels has 5 different subtasks, including self-care, safety and health, money management, community mobility and telephone, and employment and leisure participation. Self-care measures the client's appearance and frequency of self-care activities. Safety and health measures the client's awareness of dangerous situations, identification of appropriate actions for sickness, accidents, and emergencies, and the knowledge of the local locations of medical and dental facilities. Money management measures the client's ability to use cash in purchasing items, pay bills, and obtain and maintain a source of income. Community mobility and telephone measures the client's mobility in the community, basic knowledge of the public transit systems, and use of the telephone. Employment and leisure participation measures the client's plans for future employment and involvement in leisure activities. So to administer the Kels, the first thing you do is give the client the reading and writing form that they fill out independently. It also includes questions about the frequency of their self-care activities. If they can't fill out the form on their own, you can do the interview questions to help them get that form completed, which are in the Kels booklet. For self-care part 2, you administer this through just observing the client, looking at their appearance, and you score them based off of the presence of different scenarios that are listed in the Kels booklet. For the safety and health section, the OT would show pictures of different dangerous situations that the client would need to identify what's dangerous in the picture and why it's dangerous. So that's part 1. For safety and health part 2, the client must state what they would do in an emergency situation. For example, if they would call 911 or if they would go see their doctor. For safety and health part 3, the client must identify their local medical and dental facility or be able to use an electronic device to find a local facility that they could go to. For money management, part 1, you give the client $5 and they must determine if they have enough money and if they're given the correct amount of change when purchasing an item. For part 2, they would need a computer and access to the internet to determine their ability to pay bills. And for part 3, the OT would ask interview questions about the client's job plans for the future and score them based off of their responses. So they would score independent if they have a job or realistic plans to get a job that they could return to within 1 month of being discharged. So then for community and mobility, part 1, you ask the client interview questions about their method of transportation. They score independently if they have a method of transportation that excludes a wheelchair, scooter, walking, or borrowing someone's car. For part 2, you ask the client about the public transportation systems to determine their knowledge of the public transportation. And for part 3, the client must use a telephone to dial a number, put it on speaker if it has that setting available, and report the message to the OT that they get from that number. For employment and leisure, part 1, the OT will pick a scenario based on their client's earlier description of their job and then proceed with interview questions. For part 2, the OT asks interview questions regarding their participation in leisure activities and the last time that they did the activities that they say. They score independent in this section if they list at least 3 leisure activities that have been performed within the past month and if at least one of these activities was performed in person with other people. So for scoring, for each subtask, they can be scored as independent, needs assistance, not applicable, or C note. Independent means they can complete the task independently and correctly and they do not need any help. Needs assistance means they were unable to complete the task without extra assistance. Not applicable would be chosen if the subtask isn't relevant to the client's specific living situation. And C note would be chosen if the client cannot clearly be scored as independent or needs assistance based on the Kels booklet and extra explanation is needed by the therapist. The Kels booklet will direct you when to use the C note section. Upon completing the test, you need to fill out the areas of concern section. In this section, the OT needs to record any observations they made during the administration of the test regarding the client's ability to read, write, and type. Then you must record observations regarding the client's cognition, such as their ability to comprehend and complete forms, follow directions, and attend to tasks. You also score their accuracy of memory and orientation on things like their age and address. At the end of this section, you note any assistance routinely provided to the client to complete basic activities of daily living, and any additional information that you think is important or relevant to include. So then the last section is the summary portion. So in this, that is completed by the OT, it includes 2 sections. Section 1 is the ability to live alone or assistance needed. You choose one of the 4 options listed on the form that describes the best living situation, and then there are different check boxes that you can check what they would need assistance with if they needed assistance instead of just living completely independently. So then section 2 is the recommended living situation based on all the information and observations you gather from the test. So then you have 9 options that you can recommend that they go to once they're discharged, which are home alone with some assistance provided during the week or month, home alone with daily assistance, live with spouse, partner, or significant other, live with extended family, adult family home, assisted living facility, skilled nursing facility, or other. So that is the end of the Kels.